to introduce you to two friends of mine. Their names are Whitney and Kait. You may remember Whitney. I talked about her like a couple of videos ago without asking her permission. Yeah, so now she's here to like complain about it, I'm sure. Anyway, both of these women have sat along with many, many women in my course, and I just wanted them to share a little bit about how their life has changed. None of it is due to me, I can assure you, but it's really due to just examining where they are in their life and how they want to live better, live freer, be better, be stronger, and be able to spot the pain and the depression and the anxiety and the fears that they really were living under before they can really take you over again, to live strengthened and strong. Both of these women just amaze me. I absolutely love them. And then after listening to the things that they said about, you know, being in my course or hearing me teach, I thought, honestly, I would really want to be my student as well. I mean, clearly I'm a great teacher. Also, none of that is true. Here are Kait and Whitney, and I don't know, I just really, really like them.
I'm Kait Cook, and I first met Melissa at Camp Olympia in Texas. She was picking her daughter up from summer camp, and I'd been her daughter's counselor, so I had written Melissa a letter about how wild her daughter was and whatnot. And once I met Melissa, for some reason something just clicked, and I thought, this is a woman I want in my life. She just seemed like she knew what she was talking about, knew what she was doing, and I wanted whatever she was doing, I wanted to do it too. So I reached out to her once I got home, and she met me for lunch, and she said, why don't you come to church with me? And I did, and she started mentoring me, and I guess that's how we got started together. So during our mentoring sessions, Melissa told me about this Bible study she was going to lead, and she said it was going to be very intimate, only about 5 people. She said, why don't you come? I think you can really benefit from it. And so I said, sure, why not? And I showed up, and oddly enough, there were 17 girls in the room with me, and that was kind of a shock, but it definitely paid off, and I learned a lot from the experience.
My name is Whitney Lindsay. I had the privilege of being a part of Melissa's study about 1.5 years ago. I remember at first I was drawn to the study just because of Melissa. Her laughter and her personality and her humor were the things that got me there. At the time, it was the darkest point in my life, and it was her personality that was kind of like the sunshine that I needed at that time.
When I walked into the Bible study, I was incredibly nervous. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was very broken and in a kind of a crossroads in life. I was nervous about where I was heading, and I wasn't exactly sure what my next step should be. I had been told a lot of lies about myself, about how I'm a disappointment and unloved and how I will never succeed. But going through the Bible study with Melissa and having her lead it, I learned how through Christ I'm loved and I will always be loved. And that's where I need to find my hope and my happiness and my joy is through Him and not through earthly things.
I was a hot mess when I walked in the door. I had so much baggage. I'm not really sure how I fit through the door that night. I was in the beginning of a new season and chapter of my life. My husband had just recently left, and I was a new single mom on the road of divorce. I was broken. I felt very little, and I was holding so many secrets inside that were slowly destroying me. And the way that I always approached struggles was hide it, pretend like everything's great, wave to everybody, smile, but deep down inside, I just didn't feel like I could trust anybody to truly help me let go of the darkness.
Starting the class, I was very nervous because, for one, I walked in and there were 17 girls there when I told that there was only going to be 5. And then for 2, I was super shy, and I didn't like for people to know a lot about me, and I didn't want things to be repeated or anything like that. But moving through this study, I learned that I could trust all of the girls. Melissa led it in a way that we all felt very safe and secure. We knew that what was said in that room was confidential and it would be kept between us. She was very loving and supportive, and she would share her story with us, and that would help us open up and know that we could trust her in that way. It was a very fun experience.
I had lots of reservations about going to the class, and I remember the day that we were starting that I did every excuse I could not to show up. It's hard to find a group that you can trust. It's hard to find people that are relatable. But I walked in the room, and within minutes, it was gone. Melissa is the most real person, to the point where she will call you out and tell you like it is, and it can be uncomfortable and it can be great. She can make you laugh, and she has a gift within seconds to make you feel like you're her best friend since childhood, even though you just met. And what was so great about it was that you never felt you were alone or that you were different, but you felt like you were like everybody else in the room. The way I decided to even take this class was simply because it was Melissa Radke. I had seen her in passing, and I'd seen videos, and I've gotten to know her through other people, and I've heard a lot of her stories through other people and realized things that she had overcome and I look at her and go, if she went through all of that and is smiling and is happy, I want some of that. And so that's what drew me to her, because I wanted that light in my life.
If I could tell you one thing about Melissa's teaching, it would be that she's very open and honest with all of her students. She's not going to sit you down and expect something of you that she's not willing to give herself. Bible studies can feel really intimidating if you feel like you don't know much about the Bible or about the history of Jesus and XYZ, but at the end of the day, you realize that nobody knows everything. There's always something for us to learn, and I've learned from people who had been studying the Bible for 60 years, and oddly enough, they were able to learn from me in my 22 short years. I think that's the beauty of a Bible study that's so diverse, and I'm really glad that there ended up being 17 people in the room with me, because I feel like I learned so much.
There are very few words to describe the change that's happened in my life. I feel like this class and this study was the seed that produced the start of all the change in my life. It planted the seed of finding out who I am and the value I have in myself. It planted the seed. If I heard it once, I heard it a million times her say, you've got to bring things into the light. And it made me think, as a parent, whenever your kid has a nightmare and you run in the room and you switch on the light and the fear goes away, and it's because they can see things for the first time. And that's the same thing in our lives. Once we bring things into the light and they don't hold us captive, we're free. And she told us every day, bring it into the light. We got to face it, we got to deal with it together, and we got to let it go. And so I look at the person that walked into the room was broken and was destroyed and didn't find any love for herself, and her family was falling apart. And the person sitting here today, because of learning about myself in Christ and about myself as a person, everything has been restored beyond what I could ever hope for. And I know without that class and without that learning, I would not be where I am today.
If you ever have the chance to do a study with Melissa, I would totally recommend it. She has walked through some of the darkest experiences you could ever imagine, and then she's had some of the highest of highs that even in my wildest dreams, I couldn't dream of those days. She has lived through it all, and she has no hesitations walking with you through your darkest times or through your happiest times. She's someone who will rejoice with you whenever you get engaged or pregnant or anything. And then she's someone who will also sit and let you cry on her couch whenever you've been heartbroken. She's just an all-around, very well-rounded teacher. I will tell you this, if you're gonna take a class with Melissa, you have to be 100% honest. She will call you out when it's needed, and she will have no remorse about it.
One thing I will say about Melissa's teaching style is it is real. You're going to get a real person who's gonna share life experiences, that's gonna relate to you. It's real. If you're on the fence whether to join this group, I would say go for it. I promise you what you're gonna receive out of it is gonna be so much more than you're gonna put into it. The laughter you're gonna receive through her comments, the study that you're gonna get, the change that's gonna happen in you is so worth it. I promise. If you're even considering it, just do it. Go for it.
Do it. Do it.